Hello, I'm Ray Stevenson. I work at Qualcomm, and I talk to developers every day about our Qualcomm AI Inference Suite and our AI 100 Ultra inference cards. Today, I just want to take you through a code sample that is also documented in a blog here. So this blog shows you the Qualcomm AI Inference Suite and how easy it is to get started. I'll go through the blog a little bit here and show you some of the code samples that are in the blog, but I also have a GitHub repo that goes with this blog. So if you're curious and you don't want to type anything, you can certainly go to the GitHub repo and easily find the same content. So just scrolling down a little bit, we talk about what the solution does here, first of all, and what the goal is. We have a sample scenario, and this is actually the template for all future blogs. What I plan to do is take different scenarios that people have, write a blog post about it, and talk about how you go through the code, what the code does, maybe the architecture of the solution. And then we'll go to VS Code and take a look at what that actually looks like. And then we'll, of course, run it inside of a terminal or maybe in a web page, depending on what the solution looks like. In this case, this is a very easy sample using Python. As we scroll down here, the first thing we have to do is we have to actually import the Imagine SDK. That's the name of the SDK that we have in Python that allows you to access the AI Inference Suite running on one of our partners' clouds or hardware. And then you do some very simple things here, which I'm going to go through the code in VS Code so you can see this. But essentially what you do is you make sure you have that endpoint inside your code in a variable. You also have your API key. And then you set that using the endpoint and key, which you can see here. And you make a request, which is kind of like prompting. So when you use any one of the generative AI solutions out there, you typically write a prompt that describes what you want. You might create some guardrails, which say, do this, but don't do that. And then you send it off to the API endpoint and you get back a response. So this is really just doing the same thing, but using code. So we're setting it up, we're choosing our model here. And then going further, we actually say, here's how we build a chat message using the SDK, and then we get a response, and then we finally print it out. So the call to action here is really simple. Go give it a try using one of our partners. And if you need some help, go to the developer Discord. We'd be happy to help you out. So I'm going to switch now to VS Code so that you can see what this looks like. So here we are in VS Code, and you can actually see the same code as you saw in the blog. In some blogs in the future, there will be too much code to actually put all of it inside of the blog post itself. So this is just one of the first ones where there's not very much code. It's very simple. As I said, this is an easy to get started one. And it's documented here, as you can see. The goal is to import the SDK from the Imagine SDK. You can see it right here. And then just as I described, we set our endpoint and API key. You would, of course, replace this API key with the one you retrieve from one of the Inference Suite portals. And then we create our client. We choose which LLM to use. In this case, we're going to use that Llama 3.1 8 billion parameter model again. And in order to test this particular sample, what we're going to do is we're going to try doing customer sentiment analysis. So our prompt down here is we're going to say, you are a customer sentiment analysis expert, and I want you to evaluate this feedback that a customer gave on maybe a customer forum. And I only want you to respond with positive, neutral, or negative, because what we're trying to do is label our data so that we could do some analysis if we were in charge of customer feedback for a company. And up here, you can see the feedback that we've tried. We said, we love this hotel and we will be coming back. So this is a very simple kind of feedback someone might have posted on a hotel review site. Then the next thing we do is we actually set up our chat message, which you can see here. And then we get our response by calling the chat function with our message and which model we've chosen. And then finally, we print that response out to the terminal in this case. So this is a very simple example designed for anybody who's comfortable with Python, or even if you haven't used Python, it should be easy enough to follow and give it a try. So now I'm going to switch over to a terminal and actually show the steps you would do once you have this code written. Okay, so now we have a terminal open, and I'm going to walk you through the steps of actually running this sample code that we just went through. Here, the first step that we have to do is you have to set up a virtual environment, which is pretty typical in Python. You don't want to mess up the other environments you might have on the machine. If you don't use in virtual environments, then all of the dependencies that you download will be global to the whole machine, and that's not necessarily what we want. The other thing we have to do is we have to actually install the dependencies for the Imagine SDK. This is the Python SDK, which allows us to call the functions that behind the scenes actually reach out to the inference suite and call the API on our behalf. So this happens fairly fast. It installs all the dependencies. And then I'll just go ahead and clear the terminal here so that you can see the result. The final step is we're ready to go try our code. So let's go do that. And we go here and we call python easy.py. So that's the name of the file that we just worked on. And what we expect to happen is we sent a review, which was about a hotel. We said that hotel was really great. And as expected, the return is positive. We said we only want to hear positive, negative, or neutral in the response. And that's what we want to do. And that's what it did. So if you could imagine that this piece of code was part of a production pipeline, you could label the data from all of the feedback from customers. And then somebody who's in marketing or sales could go take a look at that and kind of figure out like how different, hotel properties are doing in terms of their customer satisfaction. So really simple example, very easy to get started. I encourage you to go and sign up for a free API key with one of our partners. Again, in the earlier blogs, we actually talked about the AI Inference Suite. So I encourage you to go take a look at that. My name is Ray Stevenson again, and thank you so much for joining me today for a walkthrough of how easy it is to get started with the Qualcomm AI Inference Suite.